This is Glenn Hughes, the voice of rock, and you're listening to Music Mania.
You ready for some screaming heavy metal? We rock! But the evil that men do, then John, we gonna bang your head!
You are now listening to the Music Mania podcast, brought to you by CD Warehouse in Gladstone, the #1 hard rock podcast in the Midwest, featuring hard-hitting interviews with rock's living legends. And now, here's your host, Clint Switzer.
It is officially the final Music Mania podcast episode of the month of January. Thank you so much for joining me here on yet another journey into the rock cosmos, as I'm going to be bringing on a very special guest this week. He is known for directing and editing the film Attack of Life, the Bang Tango movie, as also the guitarist for the band Bang Tango. Mr. Drew Fortier is going to be joining me to talk about all his projects, including starring in a new horror movie, Her Name Was Krista, and he's going to be officially announcing his next film project right here on the show. Drew Fortier is a true renaissance man in the new music world, a tremendous guitarist, and we're going to be talking about all that and much more, including his new band, Zen From Mars, featuring members of Kick Tracy, Enough's Enough, and Fear Factory. He's done video work for guys like Vince Neil, Slaughter, and Queensryche. Drew's a great guy. He's sort of a musical and pop culture soulmate. As you'll see in this interview, one of my favorite interviews I've ever done here on the Music Mania podcast, and that goes back to doing, having guys on, like Dave Ellefson from Megadeth, JJ French from Twisted Sister, Tommy James from Tommy James and the Shondells. We've done so many wonderful interviews here, but this is one of my favorite conversations I've ever had. Definitely hit it off, made a new friend, so to speak. We've always kind of hit it off and talked on social media, but we were able to make this interview happen, and he's so kind as to allow us to sort of announce his brand new film project, even after he vowed he would never do another documentary. Drew is going to be back doing a very important project, in my opinion, and we're going to be talking to him about that. We're going to sort of unveil the project here in just a little bit when we get to the interview. But before we do that, I've got to announce that later in the week on Friday, as normally our podcasts, of course, drop on Fridays. This is a special early week edition this week, but Friday, we are going to be joined by none other than the voice of rock, Glenn Hughes. So please be sure to join us back for that one. Excited to talk to him. It's the second time he will be on this show. Huge fan of Glenn's from Deep Purple, Black Sabbath, all the things he's been able to do and accomplish. Black Country Communion just released a new awesome album here in the last few months. A huge fan of Glenn's. He's a rock and roll Hall of Famer, and he's going to be back on this show talking about a very important topic to him. He just recorded a version of Roxanne by the Police for a special project that he's been working on. So excellent stuff coming up here. I personally am going to be traveling to Tampa, Florida here on February 7th, and going to be enjoying some time down there and in Clearwater Beach, and going to be checking out the LA Gun show down there at the Brass Mug in Tampa. So going to be covering that show. Might grab an interview down there if I can make that work time-wise. Definitely going to be reviewing the show, and looking forward to seeing my first reunion show between Tracy Guns and Phil Lewis. Of course, we had Phil on the show a couple months ago, I guess it was. So excited to catch up with those guys and see them live. For the first time, I was able to catch Phil's version of LA Guns before he reformed with Tracy back on New Year's Day 2016. But before we get to our interview with Mr. Drew Fortier, I've got to tell you about CD Warehouse in Gladstone. They are our proud sponsor, and guys, for 22 years, they are a staple of the Northland. I own 90% of the music that I've ever purchased. It is from CD Warehouse. Guys, buy, sell, and trade CDs, DVDs, vinyls, and more. Please hit up my buddy Randy Ringer at 816-455-2130. And you can find them at 2504 Northeast 57th Terrace in Gladstone. Drew, it's Clint, man. How's it going?
Going good, man. How are you?
Well, good. I'm glad we got this worked out. We had a little confusion, of course, here in Missouri. You're in Indiana, and we couldn't quite get the time worked out because your weird state doesn't have daylight savings time. What's up with that?
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. I don't even know what time it is at the time. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Phoenix is like, I think Arizona is the same thing too, I think.
Arizona, that's right. Those are the two states I have to avoid because I'm very time conscious, and it threw me off. I was actually in Indiana one time, and I was going to go to a Reds game in Ohio, which isn't too far, across the border, down there in Ohio, and And I don't think I made it to the game on time. It just didn't make sense. I was like, I couldn't get it figured out. But man, glad you're able to join us. So much going on. It's good to finally talk to you. We've talked kind of over the years, just on social media and stuff, talking about some of the things you've been working on. But Drew, a lot going on for you. How's 2018 been treating you so far?
Oh, it's great. Just keeping busy with all the goofy random stuff I end up doing somehow, and just wonderful. Actually, I just moved out to Indiana last summer. I'm engaged. There's an amazing woman, and I just adjusting to Indiana, and I love it out here. Actually, aside from the time zone, of course, but it's lovely, and just kind of gearing up for the year with all. You never realize how much you got going on until you have to talk about what you got going on. I guess there's a lot going on.
There is, man. You got engaged. Congratulations for that. I think we're about the same age. I'm 33. I know you're a younger dude, man. So.
Oh yeah, I'm 30.
Okay, so you're younger than me. This is unbelievable. So I've never been married in my life. I don't think I could ever do it. It's not for me. I'm too much of an adventurer. I'm always going somewhere, man. I just don't think I could do it. But you seem to have met someone great. That's rare in this world, I think.
Oh yeah, she's absolutely incredible. She just is so supportive, and she's just amazing in every way humanly possible. And she's come out with me to the Bang Tango shows over the summer and all that. She had a blast, and it's just like my partner in crime.
Well, we've got a lot to get into. Of course, the rhythm guitarist for Bang Tango. Of course, Zen From Mars as well. I want to get into that. But we just came across the 2-year anniversary of the release of Attack of Life, the Bang Tango documentary that you released on YouTube. And this is fascinating to me as a fellow filmmaker, not a good one or anything, but just someone that's that's done a film before and getting ready to do another one here this fall. To talk about the process of making that and just kind of take us back to making it, because I know then 2 years ago you wind up joining the band, but what was kind of your connection to the band leading up to making this, and then going into the process of making it and just kind of how it all got going at the beginning?
It's the most ridiculous story ever. Oh man, it was 7 years ago. We came out 2 years ago, and I started it 7 years ago. And I was bartending at this bar at the time on the south side of Chicago, and my boss was like, "We're going to have Bang Tango play here." I'm like, "Oh, I remember that." My older brother listened to them when I was growing up, so I remember the name. I remember some of the tunes and all that. I'm like, "Cool." And I was a big Beautiful Creatures fan, so I couldn't wait to meet Joe. And so they show up. I'm there, and it's a smaller kind of place. And I had this Zoom video recorder in my hand just for kicks. And then Joe, the singer, comes up to me and he's like, I had long hair, and he's like, "Hey man, you look cool. You know where I could find some weed?" And I was like, "No." And then he's like, "What's that in your hand?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's a camera." He's like, "Whoa, you wanna make a documentary on us? We're recording in Chicago in a couple weeks." I'm like, "Sure."
Wow.
And I had no film background whatsoever, no clue what I was doing. I just signed up for it, just the craziest 4 years of my life. And so I kept in touch with them, and then they came back to Chicago to record, and I showed up at the airport as they were landing, and they were like, "You were serious?" And I was like, "Whoa." And so it goes into the studio, and I start getting footage and all that, and it was for they were recording Pistol Whipped on the Bible Belt. And it's me and my friend Joe Plaskowski helped me shoot a lot of that. And we're in the studio, and then, a couple days, and it's like, I think we should spice this up a little bit. So I introduced alcohol to the situation.
Always helps.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And so it worked. I got some great footage, and then everybody started drinking earlier and earlier and earlier. Next thing you know, we're doing shots of Jaeger at like 10 a.m., and I was like, oh, boy. And and originally the movie was supposed to be like just a studio documentary. And then I ended up, while there, interviewing Joe and all that, he was talking about the original band and all that, and just kind of the history. And I was like, well, that sounds like it could be expanded upon. And so I got in touch with all the original guys in the band, Mark Knight, Kyle Stevens, Tig, and all that. And Mark kind of put it all together from there. And they were all just kind of surprised that, I was in my early 20s at the time, so some weird kid from Chicago wants to make a movie about him. And no filmmaking experience whatsoever. And so I ended up flying out to LA. I got to know Mark really good, and interviewed all the guys, and then just ended up getting pretty much almost everybody from the original band to where the band was at that point, all the members. So we got like we got Danny Aon, we got Mark Tremalia, who's now in Little Caesar, and just all these guys. And then the movie kind of started to take shape a little bit, and then next thing I know, I ended up like 400 hours of footage, because I'd go on the road with Bang Tango from here and there and all that, and I didn't know how to log footage too well, and so that was just nuts. And then so it probably took about 2.5 years before I decided to sit down and be like, all right, I guess I better edit this friggin' thing, and that was extremely overwhelming, and I'm still finding the pieces of my brain that I lost while putting the whole thing together. And oh man, and it was, oh god, just thinking about it, it's so bittersweet, but more sweet than bitter, you know. And then I had the bright idea of getting somebody to narrate like an opening for it, and so I wrote that out, and I was like, oh, this would be great for like Dee Snider or something like that. So I sent his manager an email, and he was like, he's up for it. I'm like, what? How much does he want? He's like, don't worry about it. I'm like, whoa. And so then he emailed me back with the WAV file of Dee reading the opening, as you hear now, and the coolest thing was Dee added his own 2 cents at one point, like in the opening narration. He's like, still can be? All right, I'm rooting for him. And I was like, that's awesome. That sets the tone perfectly, you know? And so I kept that in there. And just piecing it together, the movie, I just had to do it in pieces, because there's so much footage and so many interviews. And so it just kind of went, that was like the only way I could make this happen is like chronologically. And so I just kind of whittled away at everything, and I pretty much asked everybody the same questions. And so I was able to, you know, cut between that and people's reactions to the questions and different opinions and all that, and at different time frames. And so I kind of structured out the movie a bit. And so that I was able to figure that out. And once again, no filmmaking experience whatsoever. No clue what the hell I was doing. I thought somebody else was going to edit it. And then the guys were like, so how's the movie going? You're going to like edit it? I was like, I thought you guys were going to find somebody. Like, no, that's going to be you. I'm like, great. And then there's some great interviews in there too. The full Howard Benson interview is amazing. He goes into the music business, and that could be a documentary in it of itself. It's just so much insight. Ricky Rackman was awesome, so then I ended up like a rough cut of the movie. It's like an hour and 45 minutes long, and it was like, just based on the tone alone, it was like X-rated. Like,
sure.
Like 10 minutes into, like 10 minutes into the movie, you like hate Bang Tango. I'm like, I should probably fix this a little bit. And cause, you know, a lot of debauchery back then, and as Howard Benson says in the movie, there wasn't a good time for women, you know. And so so like off the bat, you're like hearing about all these awful situations with women in the recording studio, and so
it was, and it's unbelievable. And I love the way that the story is woven. I think he did an amazing job, and this is just kind of amazing to hear all this, because this is kind of my own experience with my first film, and kind of going into a second, just becoming a passion. But for what did you use to edit this with? What kind of program? And this is just for us filmmaking nerds here. No one probably cares at all about this. What did you use to edit it with? And then why did you wind up going with the YouTube route? Kind of, and I think that I've kind of just briefly talked to you before, just maybe some of the music and the record label and the copyrights and stuff like that. We ran into the same issues, so kind of get into that.
Oh yeah, sure. Let's see. So I edited on Final Cut Pro X, and the first thing I ever edited was actually a music video for Bang Tango. Is because they're like, so we got this new album and you got all this footage. Why don't you edit us a music video? I was like, I don't know how to do that. They're like, well, learn. And I was like, all right. And and so I did the Live Life video, and then their booking agent actually loved it. Then ended up doing a lot of video work like Vince Neil and Slaughter and all that. But so it was the final. And that was on iMovie. And then so I was like, okay, I got to put on some big boy pants now. And so I ended up, I won't say how I got it, but I ended up with Final Cut Pro X, wink, wink. And so I started just, kind of figuring out how to work that damn thing, which is, it felt like a monkey trying to figure out how to use a computer.
Yes, I have we used Premiere Pro, and it's kind of the same thing. We had to teach ourselves every bit of it, so I know exactly what you went through there. And we're transitioning over to Final Cut for our next film, so I guess we have our work cut out for us. There you go.
And any questions you ever have with anything, let me know, especially when it's dealing with stress.
Well, you went through all the stress so you can save others the stress later on. You should make a YouTube video about every little minute detail of Final Cut. That's how we made a film, watching YouTube videos, how to render and cross dissolve, and every little thing had to be looked up, and it was unbelievable. But I think that's so cool, and the fact that you did that and put that in, and just obviously it probably gained you a lot of equity with the band. And in the meantime, of course, you're a musician yourself, and you wind up joining the band in 2015, which is unbelievable.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. And go back to the whole how it ended up on YouTube.
Yes,
it was I had some distribution offers and all that and everything, and then of course, doing it on your own, had no clue how to make a movie, and learn how to make a movie somehow. The whole business side and the legalities of clearing songs and all that stuff, and they're like, nobody knows like who owns the publishing rights for like the third album, Love After Death, which is my favorite, amazing album, and so that would have been a hassle to begin with right there. But then they were signed to MCA in the early 90s, and then that MCA got bought out by Universal. So for maybe 6 months straight, I was in talks with Universal to try and clear the songs and everything, because you can't do a Bang Tango movie without Bang Tango songs. And so every week I would get passed down to somebody else, because the person I was in contact with either got fired or promoted, and so pretty much had to start the conversation all over again. And that went on for just months, and I was like, all right. And then they shot me a random number, like 15 grand, 20 grand, or it would have been like $500 a song, and that's and I was like, even just to submit it into a film festival or something like that. And so I was like, you know what, screw it. I woke up one day and I was like, I'm just gonna put it out there for free. This one's on me. And it was totally at peace with it, and just so happy I was, able to do that, and the people who wanted to see it got to see it and everything, and just, just really just into it for all the right reasons, Yeah,
I think so, and I think that we went through the same battle. We used all stock music in ours. It was about football. We cover a lot of sports here, so it was a sports documentary, and so it was easy just to kind of plug in some stock music. We didn't have to go through the publishing stuff, and I know that's for a music documentary you have to do it. And I think what this is, and I think what this film represents, is the fact that it's got over 33,000 views on YouTube. More people got to see it this way than maybe would have otherwise, and to get their eyes on the product, and to know going forward, of course, that you have a passion for this and want to continue on the filmmaking side, and that's what sets forth for you and set your path going forward. So I think it worked out probably for the best, if you'd agree with that.
Oh, thank you so much. It means a lot. I mean, it was just a huge chapter in my life, and I'm thankful it's over. Trust me, because that was a hell of a 4 years, man. It was just absolutely insane, and yeah, totally at peace with it, and just so happy with it, and then I'm just so happy that people still enjoy it, and just discovering it, or just getting something out of the story. Because a lot of up and coming bands watch it, or even a lot of veteran bands watch it, and they're like, that hit a little bit too close to home, and I was like, good. That was my intention.
I think there was a powerful moment in the film for me, and it kind of is Bang Tango in a microcosm, and you didn't mind going there with what Bang Tango is and what they were, which was a band from the Sunset Strip that was a bit unheralded, that maybe came along at a time, maybe late in the game, didn't quite get their due, in my opinion. And then at the end of the film, I think it's really powerful. It shows Bang Tango on stage, on a big stage, and you're like, wow, what is this? Where are these guys playing? This is cool. And then you flip it around, it's a big amphitheater, and you see 100 people in the crowd. Obviously, Bang Tango must have been opening for someone on a package tour at that point. It was just a powerful moment. It just kind of shows what Bang Tango is, and what, where they fit in the landscape. And you were just honest about that. I think that was an honest moment. It was really cool.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And that a funny story about that is that was a one-off show in Michigan at DTE Music Theater, I believe it's called, big amphitheater, and they were opening up for Disciples, Queensryche, and Great White, and they hated the ending of the movie. It was as is. It kind of ends abruptly, where Joe goes, "That was then. Who cares?" And the movie ends. And then they're like, "We got to do something about that. We're playing this big show in Michigan. It's a one-off show, big amphitheater. Come, drive up. We'll hook you up with gas and all that, and to shoot the new ending. There's gonna be a lot of people there. I was like, all right, cool. So I get there, and doors open at like 6:50, and Bang Tango goes on at like 6:55.
Wow.
And so, yeah. So I was just like, this might have even worked out better, like, you know, for the movie. And it kind of just, it represents Bang Tango perfectly, because they represent so many, all those bands from that time that should have been something more, and, you know, like the tagline, and still can be. And, so they kind of just were the poster board for that, you know, and I was happy to, you know, execute that point with the movie. And it's a very, it's a very familiar story for a lot of those bands at that time, and it's just, you know, they all got the big record deal, but then they all just kind of just faded away, and they still had that cult following, which keeps them alive.
What's your background? Obviously, you're a few years younger than me. I grew up on this music too. We're about the same age. We're a little young to be fans of music like this, but here we are. For everyone my age, there's a story. You know, for me, it was my uncle kind of showing me around. What was the antithesis of all this for you? I think you talked about listening to Bang Tango because of your brother. Was that kind of how you got into, we'll say, this kind of music?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. My brother's 11 years older than I am.
Oh, yeah.
My sister's 7 years older, and they used to watch Headbangers Ball all the time when I was a little kid, so I had no choice but to, you know, listen to it. And then it just kind of ingrained itself in my DNA, and then it was just became just you know, like Uncle Ricky Rickman's on TV again, you know. It's just, there he is, you know, that guy, and it just became part of my life, for sure, all that. And then just, you know, it just got so deeply into music, and it just wanted to be I just wanted to be cool like my older brother and older sister, you know. But then I you know, just ended up just loving it, and just, you know, I just love music. And but yeah, that was it. Definitely my older brother, for sure. And he's still like geeking out about it all. He's like, dude, Bang Tango. I was like, I know.
now there's even more of a connection now. Who would have ever thought that? And of course, as part of the band, and not only that, but just, I mean, and say what you want, Bang Tango with just some amazing players. I mean, from the original lineup to now, Rowan Robertson, one of my favorite guitarists of all time, from Dio, who was a prodigy at 17 years old, playing with Dio. I also saw him recently with Raiding the Rockfall out in Vegas, which is an awesome show.
That is a great show.
Have you seen it? It's great, man. Oh my God, I love it.
Oh, it's amazing, and I love Rowan so much too. He's definitely one of my favorite people in the world. He's as talented as he is an amazing person, and he's just absolutely lovely to be around. And it's just an honor to be able to play with him at the shows and all that. And we actually started trading off a lot of the Bang Tango leads, like on the records. And so we split up a lot of the solos now, and it's just such an honor to have him believe in me that much to trade off with me for a lot of the leads. And so it's very humbling.
Well, I'll tell you what, Drew, we cleared this before the interview started. I kind of alluded to the fact that maybe this filmmaking thing was kind of a passion of yours going forward, and we talked a little bit about this before you came on, man. Big project coming up for you. It sounds like it's very official. Going to be doing a documentary about a guy that you played with, the original lead singer, of course, from Faith No More, Chuck Mosley, who tragically passed away here in this past November. You kind of said it's official, confirmed it. What's going on with this thing, and just tell us what we can expect, when we can expect to start seeing this thing, man.
Oh, absolutely, and I love Chuck so much. I only knew him 6 months, but the second I met him, we just instantly connected, and I just absolutely adored him from the moment I met him, and just had such a connection, and it's such an honor playing with him. And he was always, you know, one of my heroes growing up and everything. And right before he passed, we were talking heavily about doing a movie on him, and he was super stoked about it, super excited and everything. And then, you know, unfortunately, what happened. And myself and Douglas Esper, who was his percussionist and manager, and we're talking like, you know, let's still do this. And we got the okay from his family and everything, and it's just going to be Chuck's life and film, and just going back from, you know, he's got such an amazing story. He was adopted as a child, and just his upbringing and everything, and then, you know, leading to like the Bill and the Faith No More and the Cement and just his legacy in general. You know, he with especially with like bands like Korn and Disturbed and all that. He helped mold that whole
sure
part of music, and and he was such a humble guy too. Oh my God, and he's just a wonderful human being, and I'm so excited to do this movie on him. And we're me and Doug are starting to schedule interviews and everything, and kind of get it going and all that, and hopefully we'll be just to have a presence with it very soon. Definitely on Facebook, social media, and all that, and everything, just to build awareness about it and everything. And it's after doing the Bang Tango movie, it's like I'd never do a movie again. But for Chuck, I loved him so much, and it's worth doing it for, and it's to tell his story and to kind of get to know my friend even better than I was able to now that he's gone. So it's like a way for me to get to know him better too, even though he's passed and everything. It's super about it, man.
That's so cool. And even just in the very limited time he was in Bad Brains, I mean, my God, it's iconic. Unbelievable. I love that stuff. I love everything he did. A lot of people don't realize that there was a Faith No More before Mike Patton, who I love. Great guy, great singer, one of the great voices, and but yes, unbelievable. And I'm just really happy for you to be able to tackle this. And I guess there's something about this, saying about documentaries. What I love about it is just being able to tell a story and weave your own, path, the way that you want to take an audience on kind of this ride through a documentary. I think it's a powerful feeling. And I've always said, Drew, you kind of have this look about you where you look like you could be in a movie yourself. And in fact, you are going to be in a horror movie coming up. Tell us a little bit about that. What's up with this film? And I'm a huge horror fan, so this intrigues me a lot. How'd you get involved with this? And what's it going to be, man?
Oh man, yeah, that's gonna be so much fun. It's for I'm a big fan of this actor. His name is James L. Edwards, and he was in the Dead Next Door, and he was in this movie I saw when I was younger called Bloodletting, and it's this incredible the serial killer movie, and he stars in it, and so I just started following him on Facebook and all that, and just kind of chit-chatted with him, and it turns out he was a Bang Tango fan from back then, so I showed him the movie, and he loved it and everything. And I saw he was having auditions for this for his directorial debut. Called Her Name Was Krista, and I was like, yeah, why not? So I sent him an audition, and he was like, and I was like, eh? And he was like, eh? And then he's like, let's do that. Let's do another audition. I was like, all right. And sent him another one. He was like, yeah. And I was like, yeah? He's like, yep. I was like, well, wow, yeah. And so I got the part, and there's a whole different experience, but it was such a blast to shoot. We shot it back in September, and actually I got my now fiance a part in the movie too. She was my girlfriend at the time, and I surprised her and proposed to her on the set of that movie. And you can actually find it on YouTube. And so that was just that was like best day ever. It was so cool. It was like 4:30 in the morning, and the scene was my character works in this telemarketing office, and I'm the best friend of the main character, and I'm convincing him to get a hooker and all that. And so I'm talking really dirty and everything and weird. And then my girlfriend at the time was in front of me, and the couple was in front of me, and she just had a reaction shot, and as I'm talking dirtily.
Right.
And so it's 4:30 in the morning, and then pretty much my line to her is, "Hey, mind your business." And then so 4:45, we're all just dead tired, and I was like, and then I had the ring in my pocket, and then last take of the night, I'm like, "Hey, will you marry me?" And she's, and I was like, "Yeah."
Forget all the hookers and stuff. This is real time. Yeah, we're just gonna go ahead with this engagement. That's what you're. You made up for that. That is awesome. And your name in the film is Nick. Here, I've got the thing pulled up. You're Nick in this film. You're actually second behind James L. Edwards on the IMDb page. Is Kaylee? Is that your fiance? Is it Kaylee?
Oh, it's actually that Essa. It's spelled like Teresa, but with A's instead of E's.
Oh, okay, because I see her down. Okay, there we go. Because Kaylee Williams as Raven. I gotcha. Awesome. When is this gonna be released, man? I really got to check this out.
It's probably later in the year. They still got some shooting left to do, and the movie itself, it's so cool. It's like the way James described it was like The Notebook, but with like necrophilia. But it's really like a horror comedy though. It's about this guy that of a suggestion of his coworker, tries to find love for pay and ends up falling in love with a hooker. Then she ends up dying. And then the relationship begins.
That sounds like an Alice Cooper song to me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
This is a great stuff. I can't wait for this. I'm a horror movie nut. I watch every single horrible one of them on Netflix. I can't get enough.
Me too. My favorite one of all time is Chud.
Oh, gosh, I can remember walking into a video store for the first time and seeing that cover, because we used to go in video stores, and that was my whole thing. I used to live in the horror section and go up and down just looking at the covers. It was just like, I don't know what this is about. I don't know what this is, but Chud definitely sticks out to me. I was a big Sleepaway Camp fan. That was like my kind of underground. That was my kind of underground thing with the Anvil.
The ending of the first one is just like, what?
Yeah, and then in the second one, you've got Anvil doing the soundtrack for it. So it's just one of those crazy. That's actually kind of how I got into metal. Really, was like horror movies in the '80s, because Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives, the Alice Cooper. You had Shocker, and you had Megadeth, and you had so many of these things. That's kind of how I got into metal in the '80s. Was just horror movies. That's pretty cool. They just belong together. It's a perfect marriage.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Those they don't make movies like they used to anymore.
Absolutely not. But hey, that's just it. There's just and horror is a genre that I think, and it's hard to, because obviously we live in an era of remakes and not a lot of originality. But that's just horror. So much has been done. It's hard to find original ideas. But this seems like something that, hey, you know what? It's an original idea. I'll definitely say that. So I can't wait to see. Her name was Krista. I'm excited for this, man. We'll have to be in touch for when this thing comes out. What kind of a release are we looking at here? Maybe some kind of stream, one of the streaming sites, or how?
Oh yeah, I believe that's the plan. It's going to probably pop up on like Netflix and all the on-demand stuff and all that, and all the Amazon and everything. And it's I saw a rough cut of a scene, like one of the first scenes, and it's going to be so cool. It's going to be like a Kevin Smith movie, but with the necrophilia.
This is so great, so excited for that, man. I'm just you and I just kind of like, I don't know, we're kind of like music and movie soulmates or something. We kind of have this we live in the same universe. This is awesome. I can't wait for that.
We do.
But before, of course, we have to get to not only Are You in Bang Tango, but of course I want to talk about the project Zen From Mars. You guys, I think you guys, it was a year and a half ago, I think, now that this thing got announced. It got started back in 2016, but you were working on another album. Sounds like it's about done. What's the status of this? And man, I'm really excited for it, because I'm a big fan of Chips Enough, and I'm a huge Kit Tracy fan. I'm just being honest, dead serious. And so Steven, of course, the singer, great stuff.
That's so cool. That's awesome. And yeah, it's the way that came about was actually I demoed a bunch of songs for Bang Tango 2015. And at that time, I was talking to Steven, the singer of Kit Tracy, about maybe doing a Kit Tracy documentary, because I was like, yeah, why the hell not? I'm that guy now. And so him and I started talking and all that, and then the songs were a bit different from the Bang Tango sound, and so nothing ever happened with that. Then I was like, hey, Steven, sing on this. Or no, I didn't do it like that. But I was like, hey, Steven, want to check these out? And if you like it, go with it. If not, that's cool too. And he was like, dude, I'm all over this. I'm like, all right. And then at that same time, I was talking to Mike Kelly, the drummer from Fear Factory, about getting in touch with those guys for doing maybe a Fear Factory documentary. Just wanted to cover all my bases. And and then I was like, hey, check this out. He's like, I'm your drummer. I was like, all right, you're my drummer now. He's like, yes, I am. I'm like, cool. And I'm a huge Fear Factory fan, so I was like, ooh. And then Chips Enough, I'm always at his house in Chicago, and then it's just, you can't help but get a contact high, and I was like, hey, should I want to be in a band? He's like, sure, bro, no problem. Is there trim involved? I'm like, yeah, your wife's on keyboards. And so his wife, Kate, is on keyboards.
Wow.
And then Brandon Arns from Flip, he's a friend of Steven's from like 25 years ago, and so I'm a big Flip fan, and so it was like a dream band. I was like, I love all these bands, let's do it. And then so much like how I made the Bang Tango movie, pretty much ass backwards. Like, I did the album ass backwards too. So I learned how to not make an album and how to make an album. And so it took a long time to record, and we all live in different parts of the country and everything like that. But we're all in it as a band, though. We definitely want to do some live shows, at some point. And it's finally almost done. And there's 12 songs, and we put out the one song about a year and a half ago, just for Temperature. And we had Matt Wallace, who produced all the Faith No More albums, actually mixed that. And we just kind of wanted to be like, let's see what Blabbermouth says. And then I would go on Blabbermouth and read all the comments, and every negative comment, I would actually reach out to the person and be like, hey, just what didn't you like about it? It's kind of, you get a feel for it. And then a lot of those people, all the haters actually became really good friends of mine.
Wow.
And they love the band now. And one even designed a logo.
God, you have the most awesome random connections.
Negativity, you go with it.
That's so cool.
People appreciate it when you actually ask their opinion. And so I'd see their name, I'd go on Facebook, message them, and be like, hey, this. What made you feel this way? No matter how bad the comment was, and they always appreciate it, and they're like, dude, that's awesome. And so I was kind of put out there for Temperature, and the finished song sounds 100% different. And I cannot wait to finally get it out there, because it's just, each song kind of stands on its own. Like, one song sounds like it could be on a Black Sabbath album, then the next song sounds like it could be on like a Maroon 5 album. It's just, but it's all kind of in its own little world. So it's very exciting, and then that's another huge passion project, and just super excited about that. Actually, our mixer Richard Easterling, who's incredible. He's actually supposed to be sending me some mixes a little bit later today, so I can't wait to hear that. And I would love to get your opinion on it too, man. So
hit me up with those for sure. I'll always do it, and then you can call me out if I have something negative to say. You can call me out, and then I'll create a logo for you on the next one. So absolutely. This whole thing though, that's so funny. It just shows you though. This is so cool to me, because for all the bad things and negative things that social media brings, and there are a lot of bad things about it, and there's a lot of, negativity, and there's a lot of things that are, in like my mom being my Facebook friend has always been a problem and stuff like that. But in this world, can you imagine, because you grew up, the same time as me, you probably with a lot of the same heroes, and it sounds like that you do. Could you imagine, at a time where you could be able to connect with them, via some sort of on the computer or on a cell phone, and then not only that, but wind up working with some of these people and doing some of these things. Without it, I wouldn't be whatsoever doing what I do and interviewing the people that I do. There's no way, and it's unbelievable. I think that's just a testament to how good it is, and the connections you can make is truly remarkable.
Oh, I agree. Oh yeah, I wouldn't have what I have today if it weren't for social media, for sure. Any kind of the way you connect through it and everything, and it's so I love it. It's great. So thank you, Facebook.
Yes, without which I never would have, I would never have talked to or met or gone to some of these shows. It's to the point now, I love, being able to go to the shows and meet you guys in person. I didn't get to oh my gosh, and that reminds me, you guys, Bang Tango was in Kansas City in June, this past June. I was at the show, of course. I didn't get to come back and say hi. We were running late on something, had to get out of there. Next time, you guys play the Scene here. The venue I'm talking about here in Kansas City, the Scene.
Yeah. Remember I was actually, I had to miss that show, but we played there before. I remember the Scene, and we played there with Autograph in 2016.
Yeah, yes.
Right after we did Rocklahoma. And that was a cool place. It was a really cool place.
Yeah, it's I'm a huge fan of it, and I've seen Kix has been there since. I've seen Faster Pussycat, and so it's a venue that's very centered around that era of rock. A lot of bands from the 80s and stuff like that. So next time, my friend, Bang Tango rolls through, it's going to be at the Scene. That's the place for Bang Tango. You're not missing this show, man. You're not missing this, and you got to come back, and we'll kick back a few and reminisce about some of these times, man. We'll have to do it for sure.
I'd love that, man. That sounds like a plan.
Drew, I tell you what, we have so much more. We'll just have to be in contact going forward, because there's a lot more we could do, a lot more we could talk about, man. But you've been so generous with your time, and just so excited for all the things you're doing. You're just a real cool, positive dude. Really glad to get to talk to you. We got to do this again, and don't worry, because I'm going to be in touch with you. We got our stuff going. We're getting ready to roll out our crowdfunding and stuff for this next documentary we got. So I'll be in contact with you because I'm always needing some advice on that end. Because my God, if anyone's been through it, you have.
Oh, dude, yeah. The call or text, absolutely, anytime, man. It's even if it's just need somebody to share your pain with, I've been there. So I got you, man.
Yeah, like, man, have you ever had your computer freeze in the middle of a rendering and had to, lose 12 clips, have to start over? Like, that's, yeah.
All of it, it's awful.
Oh, my God.
But once you get the thing done, though, it's like,
that's the collective sigh of relief. There's no other feeling quite like it, and I'm glad that it's led you down this road to doing yet another film, and it's going to be good to collaborate like that about it, because I'll absolutely throughout all this be glad to be sharing anything you got about the Chuck Mosley deal. I even do a horror movie deal, so when that comes out, I'll review that for our site on that. So
oh yeah, that'd be awesome.
Drew, anytime, man. Let's keep in touch. Best of luck on everything going forward, man. Can't thank you enough for joining us, and let's keep it going, man. We'll keep in touch and keep on it, my man.
That sounds great, dude. Thank you so much. Such an honor to be on your show.
Oh.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Great stuff, man. The honor's ours for sure. Best of luck. We'll stay in touch, my friend. Can't thank Drew enough for the awesome conversation. I cannot tell you how much I enjoyed that, catching up with him and finally getting a chance to do an interview and talk about all the things he has coming up. Very excited for his film project coming up, his horror movie. So be in touch with Drew. He's the guy that he's out there on social media. You can hit him up on Twitter. You can hit him up on Facebook, and he'll get back to you. You heard him talk about how he was sort of firing back against the criticisms against the Zen From Mars album, and people kind of became huge fans after he asked them, what was it they don't think is good about it? What can they improve on? And he was very hands-on in that. I think that's great. He's a great guy, great guitarist, and a great friend of the show's now. I'm proud to say that. Hopefully, going to keep up with him. My business partner and I are working on a documentary of our own starting this fall, and he's offered to be of assistance for that. And I hope he knows I'm going to be calling him at all hours of the night with all sorts of problems. This is our second documentary. I know what goes into this. So, Drew, better be prepared for some phone calls from me, my friend. But can't thank you guys enough for joining us here on this special early edition of the Music Mania podcast. Join us, of course, on Friday, as always, for another big show as Glenn Hughes, the voice of rock, will be joining us. Until then, keep rocking,